have you. You are not part of the crowd. You know you are meant for more. To be more, do more, grow more. Here's something else to know. The future isn't in your hands. It's in a handshake. That idea in your head needs other minds to grow. Among those bouncing boards, you will find your springboard. A position, a place, a passion to engage, a friend, a mentor, an investor. Success is just magic born over coffee with a stranger. Yes, networks build net worth, and networking shouldn't be hard work, because it's not the likes, the recos, the 1,000 plus connections. All it takes is that one conversation with the warm introduction on the platform that sets in motion. Meet your glory, meet your fame, connect with those curated few. Meet the ones that matter to you. Coffee Mug, grow like you are meant to.
Good evening, one and all. Welcome to the CXO series organized by guest speaker team of XLRI PGD and GM batch. Please welcome Ms. Dipti Tandon, co-founder of CoffeeMug.ai, with a great round of applause. I would like to request Anshu Kumari ma'am to offer a flower bouquet. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi guys. This is a really formal setting. I am used to very informal settings, very honestly. But I think treat for us to be here. Treat to see that people are interested in someone who's only done startups all her life and is not someone who can guide in many ways to get that dream DL job. So, anybody here has a dream of building a startup? Wow. Anybody has done a startup? Yeah. But pleasure to see that, honestly, and that really sets the tone. A little bit about myself. My name is Dipti. Way older than any of you. I did my college in Delhi University, Stephens, then did MBA, IMA in 91. But it took me all of 3 years to figure that I didn't want to do a job. At that time, I was a product manager at Horlicks. People thought it was very exciting, and I couldn't figure out why I was doing Katoris and Mills promotions which people were very excited about, or which drew in a lot of sales, but all you were doing was selling Katoris and Mills. I quit my job in 95. I don't think any of you were born at that time. I fiddled around with doing some consultancy, some information services, something. Till in 98, we started jeevansarthi.com today, which is a very well-known name. It was very exciting because my batch, my parents, everybody thought I had lost it. My mother tried her best to convince my batchmates, and she asked me if I had been thrown out of my job. And I tried to tell her that I will do something with my life. I'm not too worried. So when I started, I knew no tech. I don't have a coding background, nor was I an engineer. I did physics. But I think I didn't know it was called a startup at that time. Right? All I knew, I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to do something where I could drive the decisions and I would be responsible for success or failure, and be responsible for my own decisions. Started as a hobby. I think it took 2 years for the hobby to become what I call a business, because the problem was large, and we ran it bootstrap for about 7 years. Didn't understand the meaning of funding. So when InfoEdge expressed interest, we thought taking funding would mean losing control, something I hated, and we sold it. This was the year 2004-2005. Post that, I was asked. So I missed scale. The reason we sold it was very simple. There was Shadi and Matrimony which had come up, but both of them had very deep pockets. What I would spend in 3 months in marketing, because we were just redeploying everything. We were profitable, we were growing. But what we spent in 3 months, they spent in 1 day. And one knew that the business needed investment so that you're not, you don't become something which is insignificant. So it had scaled 10x from where it had started, or possibly 100x, but it wasn't like big. But that was the time I understood the need of capital, and when we sold it, times grew past me to set up a real estate website, which today is Magicbricks.com. The reason I built it was because I knew that capital will not be a problem. It was run like a startup, but there was enough capital, and sure enough, that business has really grown. Today it's more than 1,000 crore business. Post that, I thought, let me do a job. Since I hadn't done a job for all these years, I worked for a year at Lenskart looking after their online business. Took me 1 year to decide, no, I'm better off doing a startup. And the little video you saw, just as one tried to make a change in matrimony and property. The thought was that LinkedIn today is, when I look at the feed, I feel it is TikTok. Or your inbox is flooded with people who want to sell you stuff. So while it has 900 million professionals, I feel they are unconnected. And as someone who's been always very quiet, in terms of networking or from a public face, I felt that people like me, you needed a platform where you could really connect with professionals, where it made sense to connect. And that's really the genesis of CoffeeMug. We started bang in the middle of COVID. It's a platform for mid to senior professionals, and today it has about 400,000 members, and it works on connecting two people where it makes sense to connect. And there's a lot of AI, a lot of data science, a lot of algorithmic intelligence which has gone in to build automatic connections. And I think we've had over 8 lakh meetings where people have met each other, and thousands of people have found jobs. A lot of startups have found investment. There are 10,000 mentors. People today post on LinkedIn by calling themselves mentors for growth, and it's a proud moment. And when sort of connected for this event, I thought it would be a great idea to connect with young professionals, some with experience, some maybe without experience, and have a chat on, also would love for all of you to register on CoffeeMug, take a look at the site and download the app, and let us know what you feel is off, what you feel it should be doing, what it isn't. Think of it like an ideathon. You figure out an email ID where you can share your entries, and we'll have a special reward and certificate for the top 5 contestants. Would love to hear young thoughts, and especially bright youngsters, who really achieved by just I think coming to the topic for the day, and let's make it interactive. Would love to have a session where all of you participate. It is easy, not so easy, but it is still easy to do a 0 to 1 journey, to find a problem, okay, figure out some solution, launch it in the market, and have some people use it. So far, so good, right? And which is where you see, especially in the last 10, 12 years, a lot of startups have come up. And with 1.3 billion people in India, it is obviously, just as it is a land of opportunities, it is also the land of challenges. And each of these challenges is actually an opportunity for someone to raise up his hand or her hand and say that I'm going to solve it. So, 0 to 1 is fine. Where most entrepreneurs struggle, right, is really in doing X to 10X. Once you do X to 10X, 10 to 100 becomes easier. But it's really the 10X journey which is difficult. And especially I think at every stage, right, doing incremental, doing the same of what you're doing, is easy. But solving a 10X, growing 10X is what is possibly what defines really the winners and gives you the biggest kick, when it scales and it really scales. And in whatever I've learned over the last, I think, 20, 22 years of doing startups, is that if we decode this, it's like a blueprint, it's a template which you can follow as maybe even an entrepreneur when you are in an organization or as an entrepreneur when you're trying to scale your business. Any thoughts first from you guys as to what you feel is the most important thing when you have to think of 10X? I'm sure you are scaling in your courses. Anyone? What do you think is most required if you have to really scale a business? What is needed?
Network.
Bingo, that's point number 1. Is the problem which you are solving, is it large enough? Like I said, otherwise 0 to 1 is fine, but that's the first checkpoint. Is the problem which you are solving large enough? So, when we did Jeevan Saathi, it was marriage. Recession, no recession, boom, no boom, people will want to get married. Okay, and that was a time when, youngsters were coming into their own and wanted to move away from the shadow of having their parents find a match and wanted an in-between, and there were no dating sites, and they wanted an in-between, so they were scared. When one did Magicbricks, again, the biggest problem was that brokers are this beast, but a very necessary beast everybody needed. But people investing their savings never got options. A broker would tell them what they wanted. So again, the problem was large, right? In CoffeeMug, like I said, 900 million professionals. Somebody's already done the work of putting them, but today that's become a database. And connections is an issue, and we spoke to a lot of people, and in the circle, outside the circle, and felt it's a large enough problem to make an attempt. And it proves, because today itself we have 400,000 members. Let me give you an example of some people who started, but then you kind of dropped off or pivoted because you felt the problem wasn't big enough. Have you guys heard of Haptic? Haptic today is an enterprise B2B chatbot, but that's not how Haptic started. Haptic started as a personal messaging service. So whether it was a reminder for you to pay your electricity bills, in fact their most popular one was a water reminder, which today is available anyways, as an automated app on most places, and invested in a lot of technology to build a chatbot for personal needs. It took them a couple of years to realize that this is not a market. Okay? Yeah. But they did the smart thing and they realized that there is a market, but in the enterprise world. And as a result, they started offering their CRM services to enterprises and built out the same thing. The technology was exactly the same. The people behind it were the same. Their support staff was the same. But that is where they discovered their market. And today there they have gone 100x. Right? But a smart founder discovers, realizes that is the market big enough? And that's really the first check, because we are so excited with the thought of becoming a founder that we find a lot of problems which we feel are interesting. And then it takes a long time to figure that no, this market is really limited. A lot of AI-based shopping stylists apps are struggling with the same problem. They work very well as a feed to a Myntra, but are unable to stand alone because they are unable to find enough takers. Make sense? What else? What do you think is the second thing which is required to become 10x?
Technology.
Technology for what?
Technology means that our platform is ready to support the new users which would be signing up.
So you mean scalability?
Yes.
Yeah, noted, required. So once you have a problem, you will need a scalable, repeatable solution to scale. And trying hacks which solve for the present cause problems when you want to scale. So you will need technology to build for scalable, repeatable solutions. But what's needed beyond this?
It will be right people at the right time.
You were saying something?
Talented
Good.
workforce.
Yeah, but what will that workforce do?
Work towards the vision of the company.
Capital.
Idea should be differentiating enough.
Bigger.
An effective network.
Yeah. Let me take on to her first. So what you are saying, idea should be differentiating enough. I call it the X factor. You need the X factor in your product, in your business, because that is what is going to make it stand apart. To build an X factor, you will need technology, you will need talent, you will need capital. But you need to, just as you identified the idea, you need to identify the X factor. The X factor comes from determining three things. So there is a problem in that industry which you're trying to solve. Now define the biggest problem there for which you could possibly have a solution, either in terms of quality, or in terms of time, or in terms of cost. Your solution should be addressing the solution at scale in terms of quality, time, or cost. Coming back to some of the things I have tried so in Jeevan Sati when we started, that was not a time when people were coming online and we needed people. And so we thought of what's the ideal segment which is the most troubled and we arrived at NRIs. They are early adopters, and you like think back when you guys were small. So it's not that technology had an easy adoption, and NRIs didn't want their parents to find their brides in groups, and hence Jeevan Sathi's initial steps, the initial products, were geared towards NRIs. Whatever little money we had, we put it in hack ways for Indian audience outside India and found a match there. Magicbricks. So Magicbricks was the third entrant in the property portal. There was 99 acres and there was a product which today is defunct belonging to the Bharat Matrimony group called India Property, and then came Magicbricks. The first two earlier took an approach of reach the property guy directly, which today a no broker is doing. But at that time, transactions had more grey. And we felt that if we really want transactions to happen basis discoveries which happen on the platform, you will need the broker on your side. Because I will talk that I don't like brokers, but when I have to do a transaction, I will need a broker. And a broker wasn't online. A broker was married to his phone. And that's where we discovered the problem. The broker did not believe that he needed to invest in learning to use an online platform. So we took the website to him. We took his properties on phone call. And we were the first site to integrate SMS to give him response. And hence, without coming online, he started getting response. It was like drug addiction. When he started getting response, he withdrew the calling service. And we said, please post properties online. And before we knew it, brokers got in, people to transcribe properties and put them online. And that SMS solution was later integrated by other property portals too. But it gave us a good early break. In CoffeeMug, according to us, the problem is that LinkedIn is one-sided. I send you a connection request, I don't know what you want. And you don't know which connection request to look at unless you go through the entire gamut. Plus, I don't know whether you will accept it. I feel embarrassed because it's not a connection of equals. And we believe that staying away from TikTok, concentrating on connections, us becoming the host and saying that Dipti meets Saurabh, Saurabh meets Dipti, puts us both on an equal footing. And building a tech solution for that, which allows us today to do over 10,000 matches, in like 5 seconds or something, every week. So that's finding, the X factor. That is key, right? So capital, technology, people, X factor, size of the problem, what else? Tell me, what else is required? What do you learn from others who are trying to solve something similar?
What's resilience?
What not to do?
Anti-law. That's the term which we use for that. What not to do. Use the others a lot to learn what not to do. Learn from others' mistakes as far as possible. We will make mistakes, be prepared. But whatever we can learn from others, let's learn. This is called anti-law. So, and so have you guys heard of housing and common floor? These guys had come with big promises, big names. But today they don't exist. And two sides, MB, Magicbricks and 99 acres are safe. Right? Because they learned from certain competition what not to do. Housing came with a promise of, here is a map, fantastic map, for which SoftBank gave them tons of funding and search on a map. And it promised a buyer that these properties are 100% verified. These were the two key promises. Okay. And you know that literally from the time of MD, there was pressure that, you know, this is so beautiful, you guys are not beautiful, these guys are doing a map, you guys have your maps given away, and why are you not doing verified properties? And it took a lot of pushback to communicate that we will not do either. You cannot compare properties on a map, and that time, you know, it wasn't that Google Maps was very handy. People are not used to using maps. It's impossible to compare properties on a map. After a year or so, I think they all also put map secondary and made it primary. And the second biggest one was, which actually put them out of business, was this entire bit about verified property. So they would send somebody to your house or the broker's premise to to verify the property. But what they forgot, and what every entrepreneur must remember, is basic unit economics. At that time, you sold a property listing for 30 bucks. I mean, they were large packages, but think of it as an average price of a property listing to be 30 bucks. Cost of doing verification was 300 bucks. And it wasn't something where when you scaled that 300 bucks would come down. So there were alternate solutions, tech-enabled solutions thought of verifying brokers. No need to verify individual properties in which ways. And you know, but that's really because, you know, it was anti-law. Don't do this. Common Floor changed its business model. So all classified sites do enterprise business when they sell you space or sell you subscription, but it is not response based. You understand what is response based selling? That I guarantee you, if I give you 30 leads, you give me so much money. If I don't give you 30 leads, don't give me money. Common Floor thought it had done a breakthrough change when they moved to leads. Again, there was pressure. But by then we had learned that if you get into this leads team, unless that guy is literally closing the sale, a broker is not going to say it's a lead. So otherwise, Common Floor was a walking property portal. It had built a ton of organic traffic on, you know, builder projects, and was doing all things right. But then they decided to shoot themselves in the foot. Good for Magicbricks at 99. But anti-law. You know, what is it that your competition is doing, which you definitely should not be doing? And again, it is very easy, very easy to get carried away, you know, with this. Let me talk about the next one. Okay. Have you heard of degrees of action? You know, when you take degrees of action, or you have thoughts on degrees of action? You won't find it typically on Google or anything. So this is an entrepreneur class. You're going to listen to stuff which typically you're not going to find at other places. So the first one is no action. You remain where you are. You don't do anything. And it is no action. Nothing happens. End of story. Very easy. Second is retreat. Okay, you take an action, either there is some backlash or that idea fails, okay, and you say, no, I won't fight back, I'll go back, and you actually you kind of set yourself back by 10 steps. So there is no action and there is retreat. Then there is what I call business as usual, BAU, which is average action. ये रोज का आया, मेरे पास 4 क्वेरीज आई, मैंने उनको एड्रेस किया, मैंने छोटी सी स्प्रिंट बनाई, उस स्प्रिंट का मैंने कुछ किया, and you grow at 10%, 15%, 20% annually. Average action, average results. Do you think any of these three can give 10x growth? So, 2 actions are needed for 10x growth. One is massive action, where people say that a very simple thing was very simple to do and it gave fantastic results. That's really 1 in a million. If you don't take massive action, you're not going to get massive results. I'm not saying it's exactly proportional, but you definitely need to take big action. Action which you don't think is possible or easy. It's like you're taking on the world. So you will need to take massive action and you will need to take what I call imperfect action. So perfect action is, you're building something and you will refine. People with a tech background will know that nothing is ever 100% perfect and the opportunity will pass. So imperfect action following the great 80-20 rule, it works well for 80% of users, it works very well. 10% find it slightly difficult, 5% find it very difficult, 5% it doesn't work, it is okay, launch it. But get the opportunity done. So that fearlessness is required in both these things. To judge what is the time at which you will release it. And to take massive action which people think is not possible are what can give you that solution to the X factor using the technology, the talent and the capital. And there are people who've done, this big action. I'll step back from what I've been talking about my startups and give you an example of a company which you would know. So, everyone here knows Urban Clap, Urban Company, right? The biggest change which Urban Company did was in 2019. Urban Company started as an aggregator, right? Service providers got leads. In 2019, there was a 50-50 business between lead generation and their actual staff, where complete service was provided by them. It's a well-documented case study worth a read. And there was the end-to-end service had great NPS and great retention and repeat. But the business was 50-50. And they were figuring how to grow 10x. And a big debate was, do we continue like this or do we bet on end-to-end full stack service and move 100%? It could have gone to zero, right? Because you're alienating the aggregators. You're saying become my staff, it needs investment, it needs training, right? It's your name at stake because suddenly you're an urban company beautician, you're an urban company house cleaner, yeah, you're an urban company mechanic. So they had to cut down. For this, they also had to consciously reduce, at least in terms of focus, the number of services they were providing, and they chose between the house, the entire house cleaning relation and beauty. These are the two things. But they took the fun, okay, and it was a massive exercise to build, invest, get service providers on their, like make them their service providers, train, uniform, behavior, pricing, right? Everything had to be standardized. But this change is one of the biggest drivers for getting the urban company from where it was in 2019 to now. It's a big reason for the 10x growth and 10x in business, 10x in customer satisfaction, 10x in everything. And when they launched it, wasn't perfect. So Magicbricks was the first portal to start property rates. It started getting printed in newspapers and everything. Okay, I didn't have a single data scientist. I didn't know A of AI. I didn't have a single data scientist. But I had good PMs. Good PMs who were very good with Excel. So we downloaded the property data, used basic statistics principles of using mode, using outliers, running this loop again and again and again and again and again, and came out with data at locality level, which was then pushed in form of an API and done. The data scientists came once this became successful. Obviously, when we were told to speak how we did it, we couldn't say I did it. But it worked. And considering we didn't know data science was new. This is about 2013-14. We didn't know how it would go. We didn't know even if the rates would come out okay, right? Because there were brokers who would quote everything, so you had to really catch all the outliers. And so it was Excel run stuff. Today it's all real data science. Okay. But those are the punts you take. But it was a massive action. The guy who worked on it used to go crazy, because they rose nahi allowed at times. So but you had belief that people wanted it, right? Because our problem was that if you found a house to rent or you bought your space, why will you come back? If you bought a property, you will come back because you will want to check if you are making money on it or not. Has there been appreciation or not? Plus, we wanted the world to believe they knew about property. We were not just a tech company. Because we feel that would also add, and it did. That we knew what we were trying to, the category we were trying to sell. But it really took that one thing, okay, take action. It is not going to happen on its own. And if you're an entrepreneur, nobody is going to push you. आपका कोई मैनेजर नहीं है जो आपको बोलेगा कि इसको करना है. आपका इन्वेस्टर आपको ये पुश करेगा कि आप उसका पैसा 10x करो. पर कैसे करना है? This you only need to think. Make sense so far? What else? What needed to grow 10x. Yes.
So from your past businesses of Jeevan Sathi and Magicbricks, you have only customers coming to your site at one time, like once they are married, they won't come back to Jeevan Sathi. I'm taking most of it. And once they have a property, they won't come back to Magicbricks. So here on Coffee Mug, you need people to come back to have conversations. So we should focus more on engagement and letting the customers know about the new features or about how to use the product as a whole. Because at first it looks like it's a bit complicated for a novice, and I feel that users should be more engaged.
Right on. So it's you're absolutely right. So the thought is, and CoffeeMug tries to address 4 problems. Okay. And matching use cases, because I believe for every problem there is a giver and a taker. Number 1, job. And people hate to be on a job board. Right? Except for a 0 to 2 years experience, you will not find people on Naukri. Searches are done on LinkedIn because resumes on CV or resumes on Naukri are not updated to get the phone number and email ID from Naukri. So it cannot just be a job, right? Covertly you're trying to do one, but overtly it can't be a job. So there are jobs, job givers, and there are people. So today, small number of jobs. We launched job marketplace some time back, but that's exactly what we're trying to do. So there's jobs and there's seekers. Out of this 400,000 people, there are 75,000 people who are looking to invest in startups, because investing in startups, trust me, even now with everybody going haywire, is still a risk people want to take. That's the new stock market. And about 25,000 founders. Interesting stat. These novice angels and some not known, I would say popular angels of CoffeeMug had invested about 6 crores in the last September, in the last 4.5 months in startups. So that's delivering real value. That's problem number 2. And ticket size of 5 lakh, 10 lakh, because that's the new stock market. You make 10 investment, no bad take jalegi, I'll make my money. Third is mentors. We thought people would want to give back, and that is why they sign up as mentors. No. 20% sign up for that, 80% sign up for the growth for mentor tag, because it's something you need to clear, right? It's a vetting which happens, and then you sign up as mentors. And a lot of interesting mentees. Mentees not just in the 0 to 5 year experience range. I myself am mentoring an ISB graduate, postgraduate, 10 years experience, a husband-wife couple, which is building a home chef online product out of Hyderabad. And husband is the techie, wife is the product and marketing person. Perfect combo between the two, and couple of outsourced folks, they have the business. So mentors and brainstorming. Growth guy wanting to talk to another growth guy, marketing at a L'Oreal wanting to talk to marketing at a Panasonic, or cross, marketing wanting tech wanting to talk to marketing. The entire product, I agree, is complicated. We're trying to figure out to simplify it. Not minute enough to afford UI UX. Whatever you see is our own bearing right now. We're a very tightly run firm, we're a small firm. Point taken, yes, we'll work on it. But the thought is that any professional has at least 2 needs at any point in time. Needs keep changing. Learning from Jeevan Sathi and Magicbricks is give him enough reasons to be always here. And it can't be embarrassing for him. Even if you're looking for a job, you're a mentor on CoffeeMug, you have reason to be there. You're not embarrassed to be here. Right? People are looking for a job and investing. People actually want a job, but they mentor a few people so that nobody figures they have a job. And we never tell on CoffeeMug that you are actually looking for a job. When you sign up, you can say, I want my objective public or private. We respect it, except in case of job, we always keep it private because we believe it is beneficial. When we do a match, we will say that Saurabh is looking to hire and Dipti would be a great fit. That's it. Or Dipti really fits the mandate well. We never say Dipti is looking for a job. But we're trying to do that, and very happy to have thoughts on our registration journey, because when we try to take information, it's a lot of information. We essentially take who you are, we don't ask much. We just ask you what's your designation, what's your company, what's your name. We figure out your LinkedIn, we figure out any public data about you, and we crunch it. But we do ask you what you want and which kind of people you would like to meet. We tried to be over-intelligent earlier, and we thought we are God. You know, you've done startups, we are God. You just tell us, you know, just put your profile and we'll tell you who you should meet. First learning, don't do it. People want control. Even if the matches are similar later, users hate it when they don't have control. Right? So, taking your advice very seriously. What else? What else do you think is needed? So, reason to come back is definitely needed. And everybody has to build it. The property rates was built for that reason. People like urban companies still have multiple services for that reason and repeatable services. What else? Anything else?
Maybe the customer preference can change in over the long period. We need to anticipate what the customer wants in the future.
So you need to have your ear on the ground. You need to know what your customer wants. Don't forget the customer. He's paying for everybody's salary in your startup. Absolutely right. Constant touch with the customer. For any of you who join product companies, consulting companies, anyways are in touch with their clients, please do follow that. Whether you're a manager or you're a PM, please ensure you're in touch with the customer. Because you could understand what is his need. Not directly, and you can't ask him, "Aapko kya chahiye?" तो कार ही नहीं बनी, और सी रहता. Right? If you would ask the people what they wanted at that time, they would have said a faster horse. Na iPhone बनता. But you at least get a sense of what is missing or what they don't like. And like I said, what that problem is, quality, time on cost. In car, the problem is speed. So, what the customer wants. What else? Any thoughts on what else? Yes, managing your unit economics. You need to understand your unit economics. Like I said, housing went down because you were spending $300 when you could not earn more than $30 out. And it meant the more properties you did, the more money you would lose. You would never end up in this profit. So, and today, so it is 23 is going to be the year where entrepreneurs learn about sustainability, learning their unit economics, ensuring that it makes sense. If it doesn't, then 10x scaling is not possible, because you'll never have the money to do it. Very good. What else? Any thoughts on risks? Do you need to be a risk taker? Becoming an entrepreneur is a risk. And it is easy to say calculated risk, वो होता नहीं है. वो ऐसे ही होता है that I don't know the depth of this well, but I have to jump. Only when I probability doesn't give you 10x. I really wish, there was a way of taking calculated risk. So I took a calculated risk when I, got bored in Magicbricks and said, let me do a job. It didn't work. It was a very calculated risk. But it didn't work. I got very bored.
There's one more, like learning from what happened on Zomato and what's also happening on Ola and Uber, that the drivers cancel, tell the customers to cancel and pay them directly, and on Zomato to pay them some amount and tell on the platform that the order has not been completed, something like that. On this platform also, is there a possibility that the mentors or they connect online or
Yeah, I encourage it. Because I learned one thing early. Users want control. So, yes, when I have to present the statistic to the investor in terms of meeting rate, I only count what happens on the platform. I'm unable to count what doesn't happen on the platform, though I know it's actually 2x of what happens on the platform. But the power is, if you are connecting with him outside, for another connection you will come back to the site. Right? I got my retention, and that matters to me most. Plus, like I said, I believe it cannot be, especially today, people want to be in control. Imagine if I make it restrictive, you can only meet her through this platform. I'll go to LinkedIn, I'll send her a connection request. 110 softwares today, you can find ratings in the contact details ID, Usha, कुछ भी कर लो, sales tool कर लो, typing कर लो, मिल जाएगा. And you will be cheesed off with the platform. We do not share telephone numbers in the beginning only because of privacy. And especially women phone numbers, we don't share till they share themselves. And we are good with that. In our platform, in the video meetings, default we don't do the video meeting, we make it audio, we keep the video off. The woman has the control. If she wants to see the guy, she can switch it on. Guy can't do it. But give the control to the user. आप कर लो Zomato पे एक बार, दो बार, आओगे ना फिर भी ऑर्डर करने के लिए. Right? And if they have listened to your complaint, even your false complaint, right? You will still say, aha, what great customer service. And you will not do it. Very few people will do it again and again. There will be 1 to 5% of people who can misuse the system, as long as it doesn't bring the system down. As long as you put controls, right? As long as you put limit controls. Finally, as one user, you will not be, you will have a limit, and you definitely will not be able to do it, consecutively one after the other. You will have limits, but give the user control. Let the user feel he gets what he wants. Give it to him very quickly, right? Just as you want net. So to me, the OTT platform set the benchmark there. When you go to Netflix, you wanted to show what you want. You don't want to search. You want that latest, if you are the thriller type, you want the latest thriller to come. You want it just to come in that screen, that's it. And if you have to type the entire word, you hate it. Right? Nobody wants to know those 3 letters you want. So you need your author skills to work damn good. You want the user to be in control. And whether it is 0 to 1 or 1 to 10 or 10 to 100, as technology has become more advanced, users have become more and more demanding. They have very little patience and they have very little room to give you a second chance. So when you take a decision about making the user do something, give it adequate thought. That is why ensure you know what the user wants. In my eyes, this is broadly what is required to scale a business. Happy to take any questions, thoughts from you guys.
Just one more thing. So, you said that your focus is to get users to go control and you're okay with it. Do you think there would be a time when you will feel that I want to increase my switching cost? Like, people should not migrate from CoffeeMug to have a more interaction. Like, you may have a platform where so video meetings can be done on the same platform, or something like rewards and incentives, like the same platform, video platform would have MOM saved for the meeting what they have done, or sending the reminders directly to those users that you have a meeting scheduled or you need to meet after 1 week and this was the last conversation you're having, or sharing the personality traits that okay, you're meeting with this person and these are the common traits you need to share about and the meeting will be revolving around this, something like that, giving those rewards and incentives. So do you think that there would be a time when you will be focusing on this to
We're already doing it. So let's put it this way. We do everything to give you a great meeting experience. There's a third-party video platform which I'm not the video expert, already integrated. So if you have the app and I have the app, meeting is set, we are fully integrated with WhatsApp. So along with the email, because WhatsApp is the primary mode of communication. In fact, you don't need to come on the website. Okay. You'll get a notice and you'll get a WhatsApp message, do you want to do a meeting this week? All you have to do is say yes. Your popular slot will also soon be thrown to you, but you just have to say yes. The match will go, and there's a WhatsApp which goes that Dipti meet Saurabh meet Dipti. Accept, decline, you should do it. Depending on what happens, there's a reminder which goes, and suppose you join the meeting, so there is a definite reminder which goes. Okay. The meeting also, depending on if you use the Gmail ID, a calendar invite also goes to that Gmail ID, a meeting calendar. All that is done, and a meeting is set. 50% of the meeting must be happening on the platform. And in fact, when you join, my phone will ring. Okay. But there are people, and you can send messages. We are debating saving. And there's a reason, because since people are discussing jobs, people are discussing funding, people are discussing where they are weak, people want privacy. Initial questions used to be, will these meetings be private? We kind of say yes. So we do everything to ensure, and we are encouraging that you met Saurabh about 10 weeks ago, would you like to do a repeat meeting? And the system will go on and schedule it for you. We do all of that. All I'm saying is I'm not binding you. It's your choice. I'm equally happy. The learning is you must close the loop. If I don't, when we started, we didn't take meeting slots. We just said, will you meet Thursday? You would say, पहले तो ये भी नहीं पूछते, हम बस match कर देते. And people would turn up. Right? We took a conscious call to cut the number of matches, but ask you, will you meet? You would say yes, we would do the match. You meet on Thursday, I'll meet on Thursday, we'll do the match. But we didn't set the meeting. Then came the learning user to RC or expect करता है कि आप करोगे. Then we started giving slots. And today we work on 5 slots. We deliberately don't work on more. That's because that's what the users want. So people have made a particular slot a habit. So today we say, do you want to meet Thursday 4 p.m? Say yes. Calendar invite goes, everything goes. 2 p.m. you will get a reminder for a 12 p.m. meeting. You will get a reminder at 10 a.m. 4 p.m. at 2 p.m. a reminder will come. And like I said, if you have the app, you join, the other guy gets an intimation that Saurabh is waiting on the call, Dipti, please join. And if Dipti doesn't join, we say sorry. Okay, and we kind of cut Saurabh's marks, we cut Dipti's marks that she didn't attend. We even measure as to who accepts first. And to us that becomes an initiator. So the algorithm doesn't match two initiators. So for example, Dipti always responds and Malla always initiates conversation. We match such people. You don't match two responders because both of them will wait for the other guy to start. And matching two initiators is a waste of an initiator. He could have helped in another conversation. So all of this is done, right? But it is done kind of behind the scene. You just give the user the feeling of control. What does Google do? You believe you are in control, but actually who's in control? तुम्हारी सारी फीड चेंज हो जाती है based on whatever you search, किसी भी प्लेटफॉर्म में, right? So there is all. But who you, when you're searching, you're in control. That's what you think. So operate on the same principles. I mean, it's really down to basics. Alright.
The second part of it, the Q&A, I was supposed to do it, so somebody just reminded me that
I'm
I'm
sorry.
supposed to be tagging along with you over here for the Q&A. It's a bit embarrassing, but
So I'm so sorry.
no, I was supposed to be here. Sorry. Yeah, who else? Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Moderator, yeah.
So
You have 400,000 users around now, right? Let's say a couple of years, 10x increase has happened and you have 4 million users. So how will you make sure, or do you think that CoffeeMug will not follow the line of LinkedIn and the users will just end up as a number in a database? So the actual question is that how do you make sure that the 1 million users in future will be as centered as 400,000 users?
Very simple. Users cannot contact each other directly. And that's something, at least as of now, we don't plan to change. You tell us who you like. You can express interest in 1,000 users. CoffeeMug saves the data. Right? Only if you are relevant to the other guy. Will the other guy know you've seen his post? You've expressed interest. So suppose that's how we've got some really, so we've got, I understood Google has multiple CEOs. We have a CEO from Google. We have very senior folks from Microsoft. We have very senior folks from leading VCs. For the founder of Roma. We've got a very young, there is this, I didn't know that person was big. We've got this person called Carrie Minati, who I think has some YouTube. Right. So you can't bombard these guys. And just as in LinkedIn, the problem is my inbox is flooded. I can't flood your inbox. So the deal is that if I'm relevant, so CoffeeMug follows a basic principle, which at least as of now is very clear. Who I am and what I want has to match with who you are and what you want. I must have something which you want, you must have something which I want, then we'll connect. And LinkedIn, it is one-sided. I see your profile, I will send a connection request to you or I send an email to you. I don't care, or LinkedIn doesn't care about what you want. It doesn't prohibit me.
But LinkedIn also has interest from it, and you have a profile that matches your type dialogue.
Suggestions to बहुत लोग करते हैं. Suggestions to properties में भी होता है. It's suggestions, right? You still have to do the hard work on LinkedIn. The standard way of sending a connection request is you end up searching on LinkedIn. You don't. Very few people, or at least the behavior I have seen, it is not वो आपको recommendation भेजता और आप button भेज press करके connection request भेजते. And think of the guy who's getting the connection request. You don't express on LinkedIn LinkedIn what you want. On LinkedIn, everybody is James Bond. I haven't seen a LinkedIn profile that says, I want this. Unless it's a big guy who says, मैंने ये बेच दिया, अब मैं कुछ नया कर रहा हूँ, या मैं पहाड़ों में जा रहा हूँ, या मैं कुछ कर रहा हूँ. Regular people like us, we just say we are the best. And we've achieved everything. I haven't seen anybody say he wants to be mentored. I will only say I want to mentor. Open to job is also put by very, very few people. And it is not considered good. The market down ho jati hai. So that gap is what we are trying to cover.
Guys, any more questions? I think we can have 2 more.
So, as you just mentioned that on CoffeeMug, I cannot directly reach which mentor I want. And if there is a famous mentor and if many people want to get mentored by him, so what is the match percentage? Like how many people would get the chance to get mentored? Or if it's relevant to him as well,
If it's relevant to him as well,
only then will
will a match happen. It has to be relevant to him.
But on LinkedIn, I can directly shoot a message. If 100 people are interested, they will directly shoot a message and his inbox will be flooded. So at least he'll know that these people are waiting in queue to get a reply. from
Which
him.
guy is going to go through those 100?
No one, but
You answered. Actually, you answered. Will you go through those 100 messages?
on CoffeeMug, only the relevant inbox messages will reach him.
Yes, you are matched only with, so if you want to mentor somebody with a particular role, you want to mentor only a marketing guy from consumer internet, you will be matched only with that. And I think, at least as of now, what we try to do is we try to grow with a balanced approach in demand and supply. So if we see there is a lot of demand for X kind of people, we try to move our acquisition towards that side to be able to balance demand and supply. So how we measure our metrics is we try to ensure that for X number of job seekers there are Y number of jobs. For X number of founders wanting investment, there are Y number of potential investors. But like I said, our idea is to deliver real value. देखो यार रिस्क कहते हैं ना, तो मैंने रिस्क लिया कि हमको लिंक्डइन को कंपटीशन बनाए. You can call me mad. I mean, enough people do. That's okay. But I believe it is waiting to be till ChatGPT came. Nobody thought anybody could ever, finger with Google, right? People are saying Google's done scared. Who knows?
So, yeah, so I'd like to propose a vote of thanks to you, ma'am. So, okay, before we get to that, like, ma'am, when you're getting ready over here, you just said, this is what you're building. This is what I'm building. And I just felt that this is what you're building now. And you just spoke about 2 brands that have become synonymous to a lot of things that people do in their life, in terms of Sati and Magicbricks. And I think you're one of the more prolific parts of our, a speaker in our series. Like we saw with how much ease she was speaking about 2 brands and names you've been hearing ever since, like you said, we were kids. So, so thank you, ma'am. And
Thanks, yes.
thanks a lot for being here with us.